And I have a dirty cup from
Hello,
chocolate.
everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Live or Monday Morning Live in Malaysia. And we are here with our guest, Adam Savage. So, anyone who's here, say hello, Adam.
Hello, all. Hello,
That's
everybody.
Adam Savage over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Look at my
Well,
dirty cup from chocolate. I'm drinking like mocha coffee. It's all chocolate.
Okay.
will I be able to see the comments? Does it show up in
Um,
this?
that really depends on your screen. What I'm going to be doing is I tend to highlight the comments
I
below.
can see the comments.
Okay.
This is Todd. He made it at 7:37, so I'm not sure he's still in the chat room, but he said I'm ready here. Gola, hey guys, how's everything doing tonight? It's going pretty good. So Adam, the first thing we usually do, just to start off the show, is talk about recent books or currently reading books. And
Yeah.
you can, if you got one you want to highlight or talk about as the guest, you get to go first.
Yeah. Let me. I mean, from the videos I've seen of you guys seem much more fiction oriented. I would say, right?
I
But
am, but
Yeah,
I also read a
hear
lot of
that.
nonfiction.
I
okay.
read some nonfiction
So
books.
if you got nonfiction, let's see it.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to.
I just read a tarot book on nonfiction on tarot.
Okay.
A young and tarot. Yeah.
I'm looking through my because I'm traveling. I tend to not have physical books, so I usually just read on my
You
Kindle.
can
But
you can just mention the title. I mean, I read a lot on Kindle anyway, so I
Yeah,
understand
Greg
where you're
reads a
coming
lot. Greg reads a lot on Kindle.
actually, the one of the things I've been reading recently is kind of dog training books, because my girlfriend has a dog that needs. He's really obedient, or she's really obedient, but she just really whines a lot and has a lot of issues. So I've kind of been reading like a few different just kind of if you guys have any recommendations, or any of your audience does, but because I don't know, it's something I've never had to deal with. Like I had a cat growing up, and I like dogs too, but I've just never had to like really think about how do you train it or get a dog to be less whiny. It's a very specific issue, I know.
Actually, a little over a year ago, my wife and I had a foster dog from the shelter
Mm.
that we were thinking about adopting, but she was a cat chaser, and we had
Mm.
3 cats, and one was
Uh,
really old, and we decided it'd be unfair to our old cat to be chased by a young dog. So we told her, sorry, but there are a number of YouTube channels that I was
mm.
watching about dog training, and some of them are very specific on how to get your dog to stop doing
Yeah.
whatever. Like the one we had was a hand biter. You'd hold up your hand and she'd look at it and going, I'm gonna bite your hand. And it was
Right.
no. When I say bite, it's not a mean bite. It's like your hand is a dog toy, and I'm gonna play with it.
Huh.
So
So did the training work?
for the most part, you have to distract the dog. As
Right.
I remember, it's like you hold a real dog toy. You and say, "This is the
Mm.
dog that this is the toy you want to play with, not my hand." And it worked for a little while, and then she'd play with the toy, leave it, go back to her book, and she'd look at my hand. She'd go, "I'm going to play with your hand again. That's much more fun."
Huh. Well, I've heard that the younger you start any kind of training like that, the more effective it is. And the dog is about 4 years old, so
Oh,
I don't
good.
know.
It's still young. I love schnauzers, miniature schnauzers. I've had two and
Hmm.
trained them. Tennis ball dogs and I love miniature schnauzers. Yeah, but I love dogs and I love all animals.
All right, yeah.
So
So,
that's
so what else are you currently reading, Adam?
I was reading one of Cesar Millan's book, but it's okay. But I haven't gotten too far into it. I mean, I have other things I'm reading. I tend to just like have like 6 books, I don't know, or something open, and I'll read a little of each. And because they're nonfiction, I don't feel as like I'm losing any kind of thread. And yeah, but I mean, I love fiction too. It's just I seem to read less of it.
You said I surprised you on Bloomsday. You did June 16th caught up with you, huh?
I don't know. I just I guess because I'm a day off anyways from you guys, and
Oh,
I just I don't know. I mean, I did one of the things on my YouTube channel that I'm kind of proudest of or happiest about is my Ulysses videos, kind of introducing Ulysses. But and I actually am reading. That's one of the books I do kind of. I've been rereading Ulysses in Italian, which is a strange experience. But I don't know. Like I'm more into Joyce than others, and sometimes I won't read him for months or whatever. Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, I know you're a big Ulysses reader, Ellen. Are you, Greg, or are you not really?
I have listened to the audiobook of Ulysses, and I want to go back and reread it someday, and probably have the text in one hand while listening to the audiobook at the same time, because I often
maybe we could read it next year with Una. Una's reading the new Cambridge edition, Catherine Flynn. I met her on Zoom, on a Zoom thing earlier this year, like out of Dublin. But so he'd probably be into reading it next year, like a big Ulysses-a-thon or something.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what I'd really love to do is read Ulysses or read it and then go to Dublin in June, so I could be there on Bloomsday.
Wow.
Go to because apparently every pub in Ireland is reading Ulysses on Bloom. People just get up and they just
the mayor dresses up,
and you read a chapter and then you hand it to another person, and they read a few pages and they hand it to another person. And I just think it'd be great, a great way to re-experience Ulysses.
Yeah, I've not been there on Bloomsday either, and I would love to. Yeah,
I was like in '96.
Yep,
somewhere in '96.
Alexis, I always liked the English lady who would say walkies all the time.
Walkies. Is that referring to what is walkies?
Taking a dog for a walk.
Oh, okay. I completely forgot about the dog. I thought we were talking about Ulysses still. I'm like,
I sometimes get a little behind on the comments, but you know, the problem is dogs know when you say walk, what's going to happen. And they get all excited. And so when I had my dog, not the dog we were fostering, but my previous dog, I would say, I'm going to take the dog on a thing. So he wouldn't hear the word walk, but then he figured out thing. And he just get just as excited about walk or walkies.
Yeah, or when they spell it out because they know dogs.
Yeah, you know something? Dogs learn spell that.
Dogs be smart.
Here's the first question for you, Adam.
Michael.
Adam, not Mike. She said Michael, but I'm pretty sure she just got it mixed up. How many languages do you know, and can you read books in?
That's an interesting question. I mean, even like my best second language, Spanish, I don't know. At some point, there's just various levels of comprehension, and Spanish is my best, and I have to look up the least words. But even that, if I'm using a really difficult text, I still have to look up words sometimes. And it's just, you have these gradients. So I've studied 16 languages at some point. But I mean, the only ones that I would say I can read and competently would be Spanish, French, and Italian. Those I can read pretty good in and get at least 90%. Did you read
this?
Don Quixote? No, I haven't read. I mean, I read it in English, but I haven't read it in Spanish because.
Spanish? Could you though? That'd be the ultimate, man.
Well, wouldn't that Spanish be like reading Middle English or more like Shakespearean English?
It's probably Shakespearean English. Yeah, it is. It is a little more. There's going to be some different vocabulary, and I've tried it actually. It's not as hard as I thought, but there are terms that show up that are not really used anymore in modern Spanish, and it's just fascinating how the history of Latin like just blossomed into all these other languages: French, Italian, Romanian, Spanish, Portuguese, and it's just that they became unrecognizable to each other. And but yeah, if you know one, it really helps with learning French or Romanian or whatever, because a lot of times it comes down to just pronunciation and a little grammar differences. But
Yeah, I mean, I studied Spanish on Duolingo, I don't know, 2 years, almost 3 years. And I got to the point where if I picked up Buenas noches, la luna,
mhm.
I could read most of it. But if I picked up Borges,
Yeah,
no, it's
Yeah.
not going to work.
well, Spanish too Borges is a good example, because Argentinian Spanish has a lot of vocabulary that's unique to it, and the Spanish in Spain has unique vocabulary. So it's language is just always changing, and it kind of merges with the local indigenous languages in Central and South
Right.
America when it moved over. So it's fascinating. And I'm the kind of person that, like with English, I want my Spanish to be as good as my English, that I can talk with an Australian or a British person and no problem.
Yeah, well, even between Britain and America, there are language differences that you can get into a little bit of trouble. And I'll mention this is when I was in high school.
Oh yeah.
I was staying at a youth hostel.
Oh, actually, I heard this, but tell it again, because
And it's funny because one of the guys came out and said, "Hey, going out for a fag?"
Yeah.
No. And I went to go tell all my buddies, they're gay guys next door. But I was 16 and it was the 80s, and
right.
All 16-year-olds were worried about the gay guys, back then. And we were all we told all the girls, and we started avoiding these guys, and they're like, why are you just avoiding us? And then it came out that fag is not a bad, it's not a homosexual inning, it's a cigarette.
Right.
So and once they figured out what had happened, they thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it's just fascinating that such a a loaded term would never make it to America. Like it is just very hard cutoff between like, we don't use that term for cigarettes. It's
yeah, but I love that when you're reading books. Like there was a thing in England, throwing something in the wheelie bin.
Yeah, that's Chinese to me. I have no idea what that is.
No, it's a dumpster.
Oh, okay.
And
in the bin.
Hold on, let's catch up on some comments. Hello, Al. Hello, Fred. Happy Monday, folks.
Yeah.
Which languages do you know, Adam? I think he just answered that one. Sorry, Adam. Here's Todd. Hello, Adam. And of course, hello to Alan and Greg as well. Raising my coffee cup high for you all. Hello, Williams Library. Greetings. He's in Indonesia.
Oh.
So sort of close to where you are. Yeah.
And the language Indonesian is very similar to Malay. I mean, they're very, very closely related. They're just like, I think they're almost like British and American English.
Now, I have been told that Indonesian is actually a very easy language to learn. Is that?
I mean, there's things about it that are easy, but there's no real easy language. I mean, but I mean, it doesn't have a complicated writing system. It uses just like Roman characters, which is lovely, and it doesn't even have like Vietnamese with like the diacritical marks. It's just vanilla. There's no tones. It's just.
And the person said they have one tense.
Indonesian.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, more or less. But there's ways to clarify past tense and.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, more or less. You don't conjugate. A lot of Asian languages, you don't conjugate verbs. That you don't have any of that Latin stuff where you have to know all these tenses and conjugation tables that just go on and on. But it has its own challenges. It's kind of like like Hawaiian has like you look at the words and a lot of them look so similar because they use a lot of H's and K's and hukaha. Like, so Indonesian kind of has similar things. They use a lot of P's and K's, a lot of words that look at first glance look very similar. So there are challenges. But I would say, yeah, it's going to be easier than learning Mandarin, for example, because you don't have to learn that writing system.
So read by Fred. That's great, Adam. May I ask you about your language learning methods? Did you learn one at a time, or what were your study methods?
Yeah, those are great questions that I think about all the time. I wish I had learned more or less one at a time. Instead, I kind of my method is like every day I'll study a lot of them, like I said, for just a little amount, and then I usually pick one that I'm working on the most. Right now, it's Thai because in Malaysia you don't really need the Malay language because everybody speaks English here. So it's not like there's kind of at least three big groups of people: the Indians, the Chinese population, and the more or less Malay people, and they all speak different languages, so they need a way to communicate with each other, and English is that way. So it's very difficult to find somebody here that doesn't speak any English. They speak usually at least some, and most people that work in like business, they speak very good English, like native speaker. So really Thai is the language, because I'm probably going to be in Thailand it costs like $40 to fly there from Malaysia, and it's probably going to be my exit country when I need to renew my immigration status. So yeah, I'm studying Thai the most right now, and I just try and work on that as much as I can because it's a pretty challenging language. Yeah. But study methods, I don't know. There's a million study methods. I talk about some of them on my channel, but more or less, it's just try and do whatever is fun. And I'm always trying to get to the level where I can read, because I think reading is really the key way to get a lot of input fast, and get a study partner, a language partner if I can, when I feel I'm able to. And just try different apps, try books, whatever is fun for you. It's not like one method. It's keep it fresh and keep it exciting. Change every few months, like you want to reevaluate. Is this working? Is this still exciting and interesting, or do I need to change it up? That's basically more or less it.
I read a biography of the Marquis de Sade many years ago. And for whatever reason, they mentioned that the Marquis de Sade had a method for learning languages.
No, I didn't know that.
He did. He said, get a mistress who speaks it.
Well, I don't know if it totally works though, because I mentioned my girlfriend here in Malaysia, and she speaks 5 languages that she just grew up speaking. She speaks 3 Chinese dialects, Mandarin, Cantonese, and Hokkien. And then she speaks English and she speaks Malay. So, but we use English mainly. So if I wanted to, you need to be more specific. You need a mistress that doesn't speak your native language.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and it's the Marquis de Sade, so I'm gonna take that with a little grain of salt. Alexa, also between Mexican Spanish and Spanish, big differences. Yeah. I mean, you can always understand each other, but there's like you said, it's a little different. Now also, like the difference between like Spanish and Portuguese. As I understand it, if you speak Spanish or Portuguese, you can actually understand the other person's language. You mean, or you can communicate well enough?
Maybe. I don't know. I actually have two Spanish partners that I talk to every week. And what did Alan say?
He says, I don't know.
But I have a partner in Spain, and he lives very close to Portugal, and he can't really understand them. Like
he really
as soon as you cross the border, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like there is still quite a bit of difference.
All right. I said my Spanish is minuscule. I mean, I couldn't. Well, hello, Bad is Rad. Hold on. I've got her T-shirt, and later on tonight, Bad is going to join us for a couple minutes.
Oh, sweet.
because see this T-shirt right here? She is making another T-shirt for someone, and we're going to have a drawing to see who wins her T-shirt and 2 trashy paperbacks. Now,
Here's what
it
bad
is going
looks
to be
like,
limited to
Adam.
the U.S. The shipping
Here's
outside
what
the
bad
U.S.
looks like.
Oh, I've seen her on your channel before. I
So
think both
if
your
you are
channels.
watching and you would like a Garbagas T-shirt, make a comment in the side, and I will add you to the hat of the 4 people from my video. So you can potentially win a T-shirt, and we'll invite her on around 9 o'clock, somewhere around there.
So what is Garbagast?
Garbagas is celebrating books that
I get it. Garbagey
are
books.
basically written for a market. I mean,
Okay.
you can call them trashy books, but
Yeah.
Like
you
I'm
read them-
reading this.
You read them because you enjoy them, and you don't
Yeah.
want to think of them as this is substandard. You think, okay, maybe it's not Ulysses, but it's
No, I
fun to
totally
read,
get that.
and it's just like, be proud to say that you read trash. That it's okay to occasionally read a trashy book, and that's what Garbagas is all about.
I think you should read what you like. Yeah.
Some people get kind of, you're reading trash. Why are you calling it trash if you like it? But it's the whole idea is that it's okay to read what you like. And
Well,
so we have
Like I might read a Jackie Collins book too, either Choices or Rockstar. Jackie Collins. But would you all like to know what I'm currently reading?
Yes, well,
Yeah.
actually, let's get back to before we do that. Let's run through the comments real quick. There's mostly people saying hi to each other. So, System of a Down has a song, "Lost in Hollywood," which uses a word.
Yeah, bad. This is Adam Savage, Joycean, World Traveler.
Yep, that's Crybaby Films, and
Yeah, well, Adam, I mean, don't forget Faulkner in August. This August too. We got Garb August, and then Faulkner in August, our 5th annual.
Alan wants to learn Spanish because I'm Mexican. Alan, yeah, William said, wait, where are you? I think we've answered that. Oh, Alan drops off these shows a lot just because he's on his phone. Oh, hello, MJ. Finally got to your comment. Sorry it's taken so long. People saying hi to each other. Yeah, hi, MJ. Hi, MJ. I tend not to go through comments of people saying hi to each other just because they're just saying hi to each other. Here, Alexis, I figure we're all Americans since it is the middle of the night in Europe. Any Europeans in the house? I don't know about Europeans, but we have people from all over the world. We've got Indonesia and Malaysia.
I think Alan's returning.
He is returning.
Hey, I think I know what it is. I think I solved it, Greg.
Dean Koontz is my.
I think I know what it is,
sure.
Mike.
And yeah, I still consider Dean Koontz a trashy read, but okay, we are. Wait.
I think I solved it, Greg.
Crybaby
my Wi-Fi on my phone keeps trying to pick up the Wi-Fi from downstairs.
Absalom may not be the best starting point, even though that's where I started back in college. It may not be the best. Okay. Alan,
I have a pristine copy, no annotations. Pristine. You want to know what I'm reading?
Can you hear him?
I hear Alan. I can hear both you guys.
I cannot hear Alan.
Oh, you can't?
I did.
Well,
I
this is
saw
what
him
I'm reading.
speaking, but I did not hear anything.
Yeah. I'm almost done
Alan,
with
I cannot
this.
hear you.
What are you reading with
Looks like you're frozen.
Jeremy Feet?
Alan?
So I'm almost done with that.
Drop out
Alan,
and go
I don't know
back
if you
in.
can hear me, but Greg cannot hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you that well, Greg. I can hear Adam.
Do you want to try calling back, Alan?
Yeah,
hang
call
up
back.
And call back.
Drop out and call back.
Call again.
Can he even hear you?
I'm trying to show him visually.
I can hear you.
Hang up and call back.
Then I'm reading.
Maybe write it on paper. Here, let's see if I can.
1984 was bad.
Oh,
Let
maybe
me see
you
if I
can
can
hear.
write it. I'll write it
We
out.
cannot hear you.
Oh, my mic is on. My mic is on.
Can you read that out? I don't think you can even read it. I don't know what's going on.
I'm actually going to boot him. I think. Oh yeah, here you go.
Okay.
He dropped by himself. Okay. All right.
Hopefully next
We'll
time.
let him talk about the books he's reading when he gets back. I'll mention what I'm reading. This is George Perec, A Void. Have you ever heard of this one?
I have not heard of that author or that book.
He was a French author. He
Yeah.
died in the 80s. He belonged to a group, the Oulipo, who were basically playing around with language, very playful languages, turning writing into more of a game. And you know what a lipogram is?
No, I don't think so. What is that?
A lipogram is a form of writing where you deliberately not use one or more letters.
Oh yeah, I have heard of that.
So
what letters is he avoiding?
the most common letter in the French language is E. And he wrote the book without using the letter E.
But that's an English translation, right?
I'm gonna get to that. Yeah. So basically, you don't cheat and put THE whatever, because that's you cannot use words that would have used the letter E. So just as an example, the first sentence in this book, and this is an English translation of it, is today by radio and also on great hoardings, a rabbi, an admiral notorious for his links to masonry, a trio of cardinals, a trio too of insignificant politicians bought and paid for by a rich and corrupt Anglo-Canadian banking corporation, inform us all of how our country now risks dying of starvation.
Wait, so the translator took this text that in French that didn't have any E's, and the translator, he or she, also made it in English without any E's.
Correct.
That's quite that sounds like a lot of work.
The thing is it a translation or an adaptation? Because translation is hard enough anyway.
Yeah.
You get it? And you can see points where the translator is just going with the flow and adding things that were not in the original, but are in the spirit of what was in the book. So I'm saying it's more of an adaptation than a true translation. But still, this book is 283 pages long, and there are no letter E's.
Wow. Are you enjoying it, though?
Yeah, this is actually a reread for me. I read this in 1995 when it first came out, and I absolutely loved it. It's just amazingly creative of what he does. Now, a lot of times with lipograms is that you take famous poems and you rewrite them without the letter in question. Now, in the original French, there were different poems. There's a section of this book where they're doing basically lipograms on poetry, and they picked up Poe's The Raven. So here is, I'll just read the first stanza. Blackbird. 'Twas upon a midnight tristful, as I sat pouring wan and wistful, though many a quaint and curious list, full of my consort slain, I sat nodding, almost napping, till I caught a sound of tapping, as of spirits softly rapping at my door in vain. 'Tis a visitor, I murmured, and he uses the old Shakespearean quote with the D, leaving out the D, E.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it has its tradition. Tapping at my door in vain, tapping soft as falling rain.
It's almost like it feels like what's it called, Sudoku, where you're trying to like solve a puzzle
Bill,
rather than
Hey, Alan,
using
there you go.
all the things that you have.
I hear you now.
Hey there,
can you hear
Ellen.
me now?
I
Yep,
can hear
I hear
you.
you now. So that's what I'm reading. It's a lot of fun. I mean, the plot is all over the map.
Hmm.
I mean, he just has fun with it. Like there are supposed to be 26 chapters in the book, but there's no chapter 5 because E is the 5th letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, but if you just wrote the number, you wouldn't have any.
No, but
Can I tell you something absurd about numbers
sure.
real quickly? In a lot of Asian countries, that the number 4 is like unlucky. It's like it sounds like in Chinese the word for death, like I think C or shit. I don't know. Maybe somebody knows. But so the elevators here, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 3A, 5.
Wow.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, it is.
It
I
is.
love it though.
But in the United States,
Superstition.
it used to be that tall buildings didn't have a 13th floor.
Hmm.
It went 12 to 14.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's just
So
like I said, like, who are you fooling?
So do they now, or is it?
I haven't. I still think that's common. If anyone in the comments know, live in a tall building, do you have a 13th floor?
Like the Hamilton building in Chicago doesn't have a 13th floor. I've been up to the 97th floor there. Had a cherry Coke in the bar. You can pay to go up to like the 103rd floor or 110th. Hamilton building in Chicago. I love Chicago. So I was talking and you guys couldn't hear me?
We couldn't hear you.
Well, I was talking about, I'm almost done with this Ken Follett tome. His talk about number 4, his 4th one in the Kingsbridge series, and I'm reading this with Jeremy Fee. We've read one before, and then there's one coming out in September called the Armor of Light, and that's the 5th one in the series which began with the Pillars of the Earth. Then I'm buddy reading this with Bad, if she's still here, 1984. Probably going to buy an annotated copy of this. Greg likes this book.
I do.
Then I'm reading this. I got this in the mail. Jeremy Fee again. It's an anthology fantasy called Half Human Heroes. Bunch of booktubers like Dane Cobain, Jeremy Fee, Margaret Pinard's in it, David Wiley, who's coming up on the show next Monday. And I met this author, S.D. Houston. She's like a redhead. That's not her real name. That's a nom de plume. S.D. Houston. It's a moniker. So don't trust her. Don't trust her. No, I don't. I'm looking forward to reading her story too. But I met her like on a live stream. So she seems pretty cool. So reading that. But my main thing is this. I'm always reading Ulysses, always. Got a couple different editions on hand, just in case.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because you guys do read a lot more fiction and a lot more series than me. But like, at what point do you guys like put a book down and say like, I'm not enjoying this? Do you ever do that, or do you guys make yourself finish books?
I do that quite a bit. If I'm not enjoying it, or you get to the point where you're reading a book and you decide, I've read 10 pages and what happened in these past 10 pages? Right. It's like you've been reading it, but nothing, your brain is like stopped interpreting the words on the page. Then you go back, you try to read it again. And some books are just like that. It's like your brain is just not taking it in. And then you stop. I don't force myself to read a book that I'm not actively liking, because there are so many other books out there you can read and sometimes there are books written for other people that are not me, and just
Right.
I know there are some people who say they absolutely have to finish a book if they start it, but I'm not like that. Are you? I presuming you're not like that.
No. Like I mean, it's just amazing that the books that you enjoyed when you were younger, you try and read them now, and you think, oh, this is horrible, or there's different. It's fascinating that we have different opinions throughout life. That we like things in 10 years that we don't like now, and we like things now that we didn't like 10 years ago. So it's just
have you guys read this?
I have not read that. No.
I have read that, or I listened to the audiobook. I mean, it was okay. I mean,
I've tried to read it twice now. This was a gift from Roz over in England, along with some other books. We trade books, and I've tried to read it along with the audio too. I'm not going to say I DNF'd it, but I've tried to read it like twice, and I can't get into it.
You know something, Alan? Don't worry about it. I mean, it happens. Even if it's a gift, sometimes it's just not going to work for you. So Cryberry, I have
Rick Rubin's book. Rick Rubin, this is a good book. Good audio. I like the audio even better. Rick Rubin.
Does he read the audiobook?
The Creative Act. Yeah. But
so, Alan and Adam.
What are you reading, Greg?
Oh, you missed
Unless
it.
you want to do comments.
I talked about it a bit, so I'm not going to mention it again.
Oh, okay.
My lipogrammic.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll talk to me about it private.
Yeah. Let's see the comments. Alan keeps disappearing. I can't wait. Alan for 1984. Yep. Hold on.
Yeah, cool.
Someone call
Not
Alan
bad.
on the phone. Chris, reading a book and translation is like taking a shower with a raincoat on. I don't know. Some translators do a very good job of capturing the book. And, I cannot read every language in the world, so I have to rely on translation if I want to read Thomas Mann, for example. I mean, I'm not going to be able to learn German to read Thomas Mann, or French to read Proust, or Spanish to read Cervantes, whatever. You have to rely on translation. Read by Fred. Both Alan and Bad will be reading 1984. Let me know when. If I have time, I'll read it with you guys. Fred, I'm trying to read 1984 again too. I have the audiobook that I've listened to, and I have the Kindle book, which I've read. So I'm going to try to.
I heard that. Yeah, you're on.
And it's not a huge. It's 300 pages, so it's not a huge commitment of a book, but it is such a good book. Now, Adam, have you read 1984?
Yeah, a few times. I downloaded recently a manga version in Spanish. So it's like a 200-page graphic novel. Maybe I'll read that.
What?
It'll probably take me like an hour. Because I like 1984, but I probably wouldn't read the entire novel again at this moment. But yeah, maybe I could cheat my way into that group.
You could.
And, just read the manga.
I mean, it's been about 10 years since I listened to it or read it, so it's about time to revisit it. Once a decade or so.
Mm-hmm.
I've only read it once before, and I'm finding that some chapters I'm about halfway through, and I'm using audio as well, are reminiscent of Naked Lunch to me, and Burroughs. Oh yeah, and then check this out. Check this out, Adam. Adam hasn't seen this probably. You probably read it, but I've never read this. This was a gift I got yesterday from a friend of mine in England.
I'm not sure if I've read that or not, actually. I know I read at one point.
Tell us about it, Greg.
Ayn Rand's first novel. It's like I think it's kind of, she stole a lot of it from that, if I remember. I don't remember, but.
I've read it, but 15 years ago, so it's not a book that stuck with me. Although, because I have a book journal and I write it down whenever I read a book, so I can definitely say I have definitely
good
read
reference book though. I like reference
Friday
books.
Films, I want to try to write something all in words ending in ly. Lovely lady, some.
No, ly, not
I know,
lady.
I know.
Lady wouldn't.
Lovely
Sorry, baby.
lady, blank. No, I don't know if you can do it with ly. You'll have to try it and prove us wrong. I do have one other book I should pull out here, see if I can find it on the same vein. Where
Hey,
is
sheesh.
Here it is.
Have you guys ever talked about like
Hey,
the
sheesh
first?
from Malaysia.
Never
What's that say?
again.
Both you guys will throw us up.
Supposedly, he only uses a word once in this book.
Once each time, like.
Yes, so you can only use a word once in the book.
I hope he saves the word "the" like for one special occasion.
Wow.
So let me just read the.
So you can only use the once?
Well, I'll
You
read
can only use the word the once.
I don't know. I'll read the last paragraph of page 5.
That's preposterous.
Decades older, 39-year-old leapfrogs, polywogs, assignment, overseer, red line, abatement vault, Trans-Pacific National Bank, objective, Burma, entrance Asians into dejunked tenements via Lipnum, colon, Asian surnames, purging loin apps. I think this is nonsense. I think this is literally nonsense.
I think you can just have a computer generate that now.
What? Who? Anna Livia. Anna Livia. Do you know she was Colleen Beck Bendix? These is all around. Libya knew Champa Chu to go and kill her. Here, Aaron Chief to tickle the Topsy Upsy. Oh, Anna Livia. Oh, sorry. I mean, I got carried away there. Sorry.
You should join us, Fred.
Something you sparked me, Greg. Something else.
Join. Everyone will keep you updated on 1984. Alan, you're back. Adam, would you read Dead Inside?
Dead Inside?
Good question.
What is
Do you
that?
even know what book she's talking about?
Book.
I think I know the Robert Silverberg book, which is Dying Inside, but Dead Inside, what is Dead Inside?
Dead Inside is it's a splatterpunk book.
Oh, it's so hard for me to read a regular English book. I mean, a book in English nowadays or a novel nowadays. I don't know. Like
Adam and I are too spiritual to read something like that. We don't want to. Too spiritual. No, I don't want to read that. Or what's that other book? Hog. Yeah, I'm not going to be reading Hog. Yeah. Cormac McCarthy is about my limit, or Marlon James.
So Williams Library, I'm currently reading The 11th Commandment by Jeffrey Archer, read by Fred.
Have you guys ever talked about like your first memories of reading, like as a kid, like the books that really, like maybe like the first novel that you read or anything like that, like or the first.
No, I mean, I think I've mentioned this on my channel before, is that when I was in 6th grade, they had like reading time and everyone was supposed to read something for like 15 minutes, or half an hour. And you got to pick your own book and you're just supposed to read.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't into it until I found a paperback collection of H.P. Lovecraft short stories.
Oh, okay. That's a very bizarre.
11-year-old kid.
Sixth graders. Yeah.
Can you imagine Greg, 11 years old, read it? No, it's my Lovecraft. What?
No, I mean, I don't think the teacher was really pleased. She tried to steer me towards more age appropriate books, but that was like that would have been the 70s or something like that.
I have an older memory than that. I remember when I was a wee lad, like even before kindergarten in school, my first story I remember reading was The Five Chinese Brothers, where one had a long neck and you couldn't chop his head off. One, he couldn't get burned in the fire. The other brother could swallow the ocean. There's Five Chinese Brothers. It's a famous story. Google it from like the 30s.
I think I read it. I don't really
Five Chinese Brothers.
I don't really remember the children's books I read. Adam, do you have
my mother loved to read.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember like a lot of children's books, like The Gold Bug and that story with the girl with the ribbon on her head that she takes it off and her head falls off. And
but I know the book. I can't remember the author or the title.
I think his name's Alvin Schwartz or something like that. Maybe somebody knows.
More Scary Stories or something.
Yeah.
Scary Stories. Yeah.
But I mean, like you, around the 6th grade, like I read, I think my first like adult novel was the first Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet, and I just remember like that was just so complete, like a story compared to anything I had ever read before, and it like I didn't understand it all. Like there were Mormons in there, and I'm like, what are Mormons? I have no idea what these are, but it was just like I went on to read all the other Sherlock Holmes stories and other things, but I mean that, and also like I kind of got into comics when I was around 10, like Ninja Turtles, Superman, Batman, and all that. Oh, mad. Yeah.
No, I totally
I'm still reading the same shit. Man, the movies.
Lovecraft really was a bit above me in 6th grade, but I soldiered through
his vocabulary.
And he had like the Tomb as a story, which is maybe 10 pages long, 12 pages. And it took me like 3 nights to read, just for getting through it. But it stuck with me.
Yeah. He uses Lovecraft's vocabulary, though. He'll use words like, what is it? Chthonic, CHTHONIC.
Something like that.
I can't imagine as a kid, you're like, what is chthonic? What is this?
Yeah. I said he was a bit above me, but I just ignored those big words and went for the horror stuff,
Yeah.
So, Fred, a book with no E, that's astonishing act for an author. Writing without that glyph is stunning. And Fred, it sounds like you've read this book before, especially Writing Without That Glyph is stunning. I do believe that is used in my translation or some variation. Gola, 13 is a lucky number, at least in the 13th warrior. Still, Bad is still here, or she was at 8:33. A little behind on my comments. All the time I DNF. Yeah. I don't know how many times I rearrange my books in my shelf, and I'm still not happy. Girl, can someone do it for me?
I need to organize mine bad. I'm waiting for my dad to bring up my boxes of books from Phoenix. And I've got a brand new bookshelf over there. I've got one downstairs too. Like the Death Card, yeah, number 13. And that little queen there, over here, she's appears on number 8, Strength. That's the Death Card. It's a good card, The real Death Card is the Hangman. Number 12, that's a point of view change. And Peter was, St. Peter, the first Catholic Pope, was crucified upside down on his own bequest. They have relics still at St. Petersburg. They have relics. But I digress.
Well, what Bad was saying about organizing your bookshelf, I mean, I have my own style. I shelve all my hardcovers together, alphabetical by author. I mix in fiction and nonfiction, and then I shelve all my paperbacks together. again, mixing nonfiction and fiction. Occasionally, like right behind me, these are the New York Review Book Classics. I just
Yeah.
I have so many of those. I shelve those
Wow.
together just because they look really nice on the shelf.
Yeah.
In these uniform paperbacks all together.
Yeah, and then you got your crime. You got that what's that? The crime.
Hard Case Crime.
Yeah, Hard Case. You got all those. I like Ken Bruin and Jack Taylor books. The Irish writer takes place in Galway. I need to read another Jack Taylor book next time I'm at the library. I'm going to pick one out.
Okay.
So when's the next? When are we going to fin again, Adam?
I don't know. I'm working on a new format for my channel because I'm trying to. I mean, I enjoy doing the Finnegan's Wake stuff, but it's very niche, and I feel like I'm getting. I mean,
Right.
The people that show up for it are very enthusiastic, but I'm going to try and do this new format. Maybe I don't want to talk about it too much at this point because I'm still.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But
Well, yeah, and then
it's
people come to it afterwards too. They come afterwards and watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but they do.
I still at this point don't have the same level of enjoyment reading Finnegan's Wake as I do with Ulysses, but it's also maybe because I don't have access to marijuana. it's something that I feel like I only want to read when I'm not sober. So
yeah.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah, man, every page.
Okay, so
I gotta get some more Diet Coke. I'll be right back. I gotta get a refill.
Okay,
Right.
I'm just gonna read some comments. Todd, have you guys ever heard of these two horror books I just bought off eBay? The Playground by T.M. Wright and The Kidnapper by Robert Bloch, both vintage. I have heard of both authors and read books by both authors. T.M. Wright, I've only read one book, and I can't say much other than I remember reading it. Robert Bloch, of course, is famous for writing Psycho, which is a very good book. I have a couple of other short stories and novels, but I haven't gotten around to them yet.
I have a question for Adam.
What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Have you read Mason and Dixon?
I have not.
I have, yes. Oh.
Okay.
Greg.
I got a joke. It should be like Mason and Dixon, brought to you by Cherry Coke. You get it? Because Cherry Coke's the guy who tells the story. Reverend Cherry Coke. And they have Reverend spelled real small, like Reverend Cherry Coke.
Alan,
Okay.
you're doing a product placement in our
That's
in
an
our live
inside
stream.
pinch on joke, man.
Oh my God.
Am I a nerd or what? Pinch on nerd. Are we going to read Gravity's Rainbow next year too? We should do that next year. Gravity's Rainbow, because I'll have
we
it.
got a lot. We got a lot we can read next year. Oh damn that book, William. Yeah, I left off that book Hog for you. I will conquer it. Cha-cha book soon enough, my friend. Dad, you don't have to finish.
Oh, Hog. Yeah.
Cryberry Film is reading Hog. Saying
Shoot
hi,
myself in
Todd.
the pads.
It'll be all right. You are Cry Baby, fantastic. Almost done with Hog. I just started it. A couple chapters in. Oh gosh, how are you liking it? So they're talking about Hog. I'll let them talk about Hog among
I'm
themselves.
sorry, I brought it up now.
Dead Inside made me flash on that song Devil Inside by In Excess. Yeah, I read Dead Inside. I never once thought of that song, but she can't smoke hashish anymore. But the opposite.
Something about hashish?
Crybaby Films, I can't smoke hash anymore. LOL.
Oh.
Wish I could. So relaxing. Opposite true. That is a great song. Okay, you're showing drugs on the internet. Maybe you should refrain, Alan.
No, it's sugar wax. I use it on my skateboard, dude. What are you talking about?
I thought
It's
you were
sugar.
showing hashish.
It's sugar wax. I use it on my skateboard.
Yeah, Joyce is trolling you the whole time. Is Dead Inside along the same vein as, I think that's George Patel. He wrote the Eye of something.
Eye of the Needle. No, that's Follett. I want to read that George Patel. It's on my Amazon cart or waiting list.
Speaking of
That's like
weed, in
$12.
1984, has anyone read The Iron Heel by Jack London? No, but it's something I do want to read. Have you read any Jack London, Adam?
Yeah. He's another author that I read kind of as a kid. That White Fang, and Call of the Wild. That I really admired. His just he has a very I don't know, good writing style. It just feels very well. The architecture, I guess, of the novel.
He actually was a pretty good writer. I mean, I read, of course, Call of the Wild in elementary, early middle grade school. I read To Build a Fire. And then about 10 years ago, I reread both Call of the Wild, White Fang, and To Build a Fire. And I was like, he really was a very good author. He has like The Iron Heel and Martin Eden.
Yeah, my brother recommended Martin Eden, but I haven't read it.
I haven't.
I think it's more of a autobiographical kind of work, more for like, I guess, adults than White Fang. Kids can read almost. So.
Right. Here's bad. You guys have to try out reading a book, B.L. Overman, The Yanni Flower. Now that's a great time book. A sexual scented flower that you can't resist, that puts you doing something interesting. I picked up.
That reminds me of Tom Robbins. I've read all Tom Robbins. Have you guys? I've read him.
No Tom Robbins.
No, Tom Robbins, like Another Roadside Attraction about they got a dead Jesus. And then, oh man, Only Cowgirls Get the Blues. Jitterbug Perfume might be my favorite. Tom Robbins is the shite. He writes out of Seattle. I'm surprised you haven't read him, Greg.
I haven't.
Or Adam. Yeah, he's really good.
He's been recommended to me, yeah.
He's been recommended to me too, but I just the reading list is longer than my reading time, so Now,
yeah, but we got to make room for some Tom Robbins next year. I'm ready to do a deep dive on Salinger too, or not a deep dive, but reread like Franny and Zoe, and read some couple stories out of 9 Stories. There's stories from Salinger that out of the New Yorker that haven't been collected yet, as far as I know. Like you got to get them on microfiche and that, or whatever they got now. But I want to Google some Salinger.
Okay, so bad. The B.L. Overman. I have picked up one of his other books on Kindle. After you recommended, I was looking that the Yanni Flower is technically the second book in a trilogy. I don't know if it's a real trilogy or just 3 books, but I picked up the first book, but I have not gotten around to reading it yet.
I'd rather read the Yahe letters. You guys ever read the Yahe letters? Nope. Letters between Ginsberg and Burroughs when Burroughs was down in Peru.
I read those at some point, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the first book I read got me interested in science fiction was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. I read it when I was 8 or 9. I sort of skipped over all those children's classics when I was young and just jumped directly into
Lovecraft.
Now, it's 9 o'clock, and as we promised, we're taking a short little break for Bad to come in because we're going to do a drawing. Hello, Bad. How you
Hello,
doing?
Bad is Rad.
I'm a bunny.
You're a bunny tonight.
You're gonna have
Okay.
to draw me a bunny the next time, Alan.
Okay.
I had to play the part. It's Garbagas, and I had to play the trash. Well, no. I had to play the part, and I have a stack of books I'm going to show that I'm going to give away.
Okay. Well, real quick is that I am wearing this T-shirt that Bad made. It says Garb August. I read trash. She put a cat on it for me because she knows I have 3 cats and I love my cats. And there's going to be a giveaway where she's going to make a Garb August T-shirt for someone in the U.S. Now, it can say this, or it can say a little bit of a variation, you know, and then you're going to have some trashy books that go with it. Right now, we have 4 people who entered in my original video. If you are watching now and you want a T-shirt and you want a trashy book, real quick, put a comment down below, and I will add your name to the hat. So, Bad, you have books that are going in this?
Yep, right here.
Let's see the books and see if anyone wants to join in.
All right, I got a stack.
Ooh, look at that stack.
I know, right?
Can I put my name in below?
Hey, Adam.
Hello, Bad is Rad.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Okay,
to meet you.
so does anyone want the square root of sex? Does anyone want to learn about the square root of sex? Anyone? Any takers? I know. Alan, we got an Alan. We got an Alan wants to. All right. Or the Chicago underworld with
Wow.
what are they? Burlesque women?
Cool.
They're all in the plastic too. You guys, they're all in the plastic, well taken care of. They're still in the plastic, brand new. Well, not brand new, but these are all collectibles, all great for trashy reads. So this is the Chicago World.
Oh.
This is a classic. Or do you want a short hair, brown, half naked, the lady is transparent? There's another
That's
one.
one for Greg.
Ooh la la.
Say that
I
for
know there's a
Greg.
hot tomato down here, so I know there's one here for him. Or do you guys like science with women that's half naked? The Mastermind of Mars, doing an experiment for this poor, helpless woman that just tragically just doesn't know what to do.
Well, I've read that whole series. I've read that whole series.
I read the first 3 books. No, first 2 books. No, did you read the first 2 or 3 books of the series?
Can you guys see them?
I see it.
Adam's already read that, so.
Who wants to read about a girl that wants to be experimented on?
I've read all 11 books in that series.
I want that.
Or do you want a nice blonde lady to go with the trashy reads? 7 Slaughters. Right on the bed.
Ooh, 7 Slaughters.
Shell Scott's. It sounds like a tongue twister. Shell Scott 7 Slaughters.
Shell Scott 7 Slaughters. Indeed.
Say that 7 times fast.
Or do you want a woman that got her got caught with her pants down?
Yeah, that's what I want.
What?
Yeah. Way
Jeez, that's crazy.
Like, oh
Yeah,
my,
that's funny.
look at
You
there.
got good books down where you are in Texas.
So,
I love some of the paintings on these are really like the paintings
or
on
do you
old
wanted
comics
the
and
70s
magazines.
chick that's ready to disco with you anytime in the middle of August?
The Bombshell.
So,
Now, Bad, seriously, you have like too many. Save one for me and I'll reimburse you on the postage. Or do you think I could find like ones as good as those at Powell's, Greg?
Maybe.
maybe.
Those
Or
are in some great condition.
everybody had a gun. I'm not sure about this one.
Huh.
I'm going to stay quiet on that one. I
Huh.
don't know what she did, but we'll see. Okay, Lie Down, Killer. Another blonde one.
Ooh, lie down. I have that one.
Oh,
Did
wow.
you do this one?
I think I have that one.
Or you have this one?
Lie Down Killer? I'm pretty sure I have that one.
Hey,
Yeah,
Alan, you
the
like my bunny hat?
Yeah, I do. I like your hair too. Your hair looks really good.
Thank
I do.
you.
My copy of Lie Down Killer is totally politically incorrect nowadays. He has smacked the girl to the ground.
Oh,
Oh, geez. Oh,
that
wow.
one's good. That one's good.
You won't get those printed anymore.
Our
Brought to you
cat
by Cherry Coke.
Gate Heat. I have no idea
Wow.
what this one is.
Cat heat?
Gate,
God.
G-A-T.
GAT.
Like a
That's
cat.
a gun. That's a
Cat.
slang for
Yeah.
gun.
Gate heat, it reminds me
Cat.
of like women
This
in
one's my
prison. Do you have
favorite.
any women in prison ones? Women in prison?
Probably. This one's my favorite.
Never mind.
The Tigress.
Hmm.
This one is, if I can read it, huh? Wildcat.
Women in prison.
The back says she was dazzling redhead with a sultry eyes and a flashing temper.
Shit.
She was dedicated siren in search of love and considered every member of opposite sex her willing prey. Any man would have jumped at the bait she offered. And I have two more.
I don't know, Bad. If you want to impress me, Bad, I want to see some like Mexican, like Latinos in prison. That kind of
Okay.
like but go ahead, Bad.
I can look for those if I can. I don't know.
Yeah, Tijuana, like Tijuana time. Anything with Tijuana in the title.
And the last hot tomato redhead for Greg.
Oh, the redhead. I like redheads.
The
Oh,
Peddler.
you do? Yeah, for Alan and Greg.
Yeah, if they have glasses, I like them even more.
So,
And then if they don't like me, I like them even more.
there you go. So one person gets two of these books
Okay. And a t-shirt.
and a t-shirt.
And
Wow.
no one in the comments has made a so I'm just going to just read out who is in the running. We have Leslie Powell Marty. We have Daniel Martlett.
Okay.
We have Tad Reed's Book Stuff. And Yves Perry. So count to 10. Put a comment in if you want to be entered. Otherwise, it's one of these four.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One. Okay. And we is Tad Reed's Book Stuff.
Woo!
He will get it. He commented on my original video. So I will make a
Congratulations.
comment back to him to get in touch with me, saying that you are the winner.
All right.
Now, should we draw an alternate just in case he doesn't respond?
Like a backup?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just an alternate.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
you have enough books to give away. You don't have to give
Well, no,
another
you only get
t-shirt.
one.
but-
This is only in case he does not respond to the comment that he wants
Okay.
after a week. Then
Well,
you
I'm trying to
then
get my comment in. It's too late.
And Yves Perry will be the backup winner if Tadra does not respond.
That
Okay,
person's
well,
gonna
Pat,
hope the person doesn't respond.
yeah, these are great t-shirts. This is an excellent t-shirt.
Thank you, Greg. All right, I'll let you guys continue with your show. Bye, Alan.
Thanks,
Bye,
Pat.
Jess. Thank you.
Bye, Jess. Thanks for stopping by, Dad.
So Todd says, "Oh, by the way, Greg, I bought a book you suggested a couple live shows ago called Incubus. Can't wait to dig in." Yahoo! Oh yeah, you're gonna be shocked. Growing up, my mom was a Montessori teacher in the 70s. she had my sister and I reading in kindergarten. Maurice Sendak's Chicken Soup with Rice is one of the early books I remember. My mother taught in public schools, Crybaby Films. Chris, the secret of rulership is to combine a belief with one's infallibility with the power to learn from past mistakes. 1984. What happened to you here is forever. We shall squeeze you into an empty and then shall fill you ourselves. 1984. We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them. Lots of 1984 quotes.
Wow,
The
cool.
command from the old despotisms was thou shalt not. The command of the totalitarians was thou shalt. Our command is thou art. 1984.
Yeah, I'm on part 2 of 1984, so about halfway through.
All right. I've already recorded my Happy Garbagus clip for Ollie. Orwell's real name was Eric Blair. Hello, Courtney. You've been languaging in the comments for a long time. Sorry about that. What's that drawing for? That was for the t-shirt and the books.
Yeah.
Someone is winning a book to be sent to them. All right.
That was, Courtney, that was for Garbagish books.
Okay.
T-shirt.
We are
That
at the
has
end
some
of the
good books.
comments. I want to talk about Faulkner.
Okay.
Adam, you want to talk a little about Faulkner?
Sure, yeah.
I know you. I was watching your video the other night about the best places to start with Faulkner. Now, we are going to be reading Absalom in August, and I can't remember. I even though that was the first one I read in college, I don't know if that's the best place to start.
Yeah, I would say it's not, because it's such I mean, it's it's just such a very thick book of it's kind of Faulkner it is at the height of his abilities, because I think after that he still does some good stuff, but it's you can see it's interesting how artists go through narrative arcs with their creative abilities. It's like a lot of times they have something very specific they want to say and do, and when they first try, like Faulkner's first few novels, I think are pretty bad. Like
I've never read
Mosquitoes
one.
and Soldiers Pay. I don't care for them, but
Mosquitoes or something.
yeah.
It's a
And
pineapple.
then,
Soldiers Pay, Mosquitoes,
then there's one that's been published 2 ways.
Flag in the Dust, and Sartoris.
Yeah, I read the Flags in the Dust, the longer version, and it's kind of a mess. It needs an editor, and if you look at the jump in quality between that book and Sound and the Fury, it's just like
What
I don't know. Like he may have. I know he read Ulysses at some point. Maybe that like kind of inspired him and spurred him on. It may just be, I don't know, but like the quality level is just so much better. Like I don't know. It's incredible, and I don't recommend those early books unless you really want everything by Faulkner, because just go to his best stuff, like Sound and the Fury, As I Lay Dying. Absalom's great, but it's more difficult, but it's great. Yeah.
I like his short stories.
Yeah, a lot of those
I
short
find the
stories
hit or
are
miss.
pretty good. Yeah, very hit or miss.
Well, like The Evening Sun, a lot. It goes back to the Thompsons,
Yeah.
And I like the story. Greg, we've been threatening to do a hashtag Faulkner Fridays. You remember the story Death Drag about a carnival? That reminds me of some Harry Crews. And yeah, Dry September. Great story.
We want to do it. You remember Dry September, Adam?
I think so. Yeah. And I remember there's like 2 stories in there that are kind of connected. I think it's what are they called? Like 2 soldiers or something. And
no, this
it's
is
like what?
Dry.
There's a soldier story in here about 2 brothers.
Yeah.
I forget is that a Rose family?
Well, which one's Dry September?
Dry September starts in a barber shop where they talk about a black man who's said something to a white woman
Hmm.
that he shouldn't have.
Right.
And some of the guys are going, let's go out and get him.
Mhm.
And one of the other guys like, well, maybe we should really dig into this. That I don't think that's something that guy would say. And of course, what's going to happen in the story. And it was written in like the 30s. And then you have like Trayvon Martin that happened in
Yeah.
the 50s. And it's like, it's almost exactly what the story is, Details are different, but it's like, well, see, things didn't change down south much.
Right.
So
Yeah,
no,
the
it's a
white
very-
goddess
it's a very
concept.
powerful story.
Yeah. Published in January 1931 in Scribner's Magazine.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Have you read The Unvanquished, Greg?
I have not, and that's one of the ones you were mentioning as the last of his really good novels, or when he's just starting to lose his power as a novelist.
Maybe, yeah. It's really a collection of short stories. Each story kind of stands alone, and I've read that one I think at least 4 times, and I do like that one a lot. Even there's a few times some of the stories are kind of that's what happens with Faulkner. Sometimes he's just so drunk that you kind of like, what am I reading? It's like you can tell he could have like cleaned it up a little, but still like his enthusiasm and when he's really into it, it's like sometimes it's incredible. And that's
Now, The Unvanquished, isn't that the one where the 2 kids go under the lady's dress and hide from the soldiers?
Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah.
stories.
That's funny, man. That's a funny scene.
That's a real jump back in time too, because most of Faulkner's stuff is contemporary with when he's writing, but that one he goes back to the Civil War, and it's he likes to connect things to the families and have this. He clearly has a map in his head about how these things are all connected, but
he makes the Northerners look bad, like silver thieves.
Yeah. It's a good collection.
Yeah.
I like
maybe we should do that next year, 2024, Unvanquished for Faulkner in August. Alan,
I'm voting for the that one.
I haven't read that one. That's his last novel.
That's his last novel. I've heard very mixed sort of.
We can watch the Steve McQueen movie too with it.
How is that movie?
It's great. They're riding in the car. Oh no, we can do The Unvanquished. Brian and I did it as a buddy read like 2-3 years ago. But yeah, we can do that easy. We can do both of them. They're both relatively skinny.
Well, we'll see. You got a couple years. I mean, you've done Light in August, right?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Have you done As I Lay Dying?
No.
That's so. What was year 2?
What was Sound and the Fury? Maybe.
I wasn't there, so I jumped in year 3, Sanctuary.
Yeah, we did the Sound and the Fury year 2, I think. That's Brian's favorite. My favorite is Light in August. The cathartic thing with Joe Christmas, how Faulkner gets me to root for Joe Christmas, a scoundrel who could easily have walked out of his situation. Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, Sound and the Fury is the Faulkner book that I've read most. So I don't know if that would be considered my favorite, but I really am eager to reread Absalom because I read was the 80s when I read Absalom, so it's a long time.
Yeah, he goes. It's the opposite of show don't tell. It's like Faulkner tells and tells and tells in that novel.
Yeah,
and then reads a letter and tells more.
So here's something, Adam, that you might appreciate. I was reading a book. It was a nonfiction work. It was called Flowers of the Killing Moon.
Mm-hmm.
It was about murders on an Indian reservation.
Yeah.
And it was during the Depression of the 30s, the start of Herbert Hoover's FBI. but one of the characters was being described as being like Thomas Sutpen. And I'm going like, okay, he's the killer.
Thomas Sutpen.
Because you don't tell someone like Thomas Sutpen and it's like he's going to be a good guy.
Yeah. So even from the 1980s, you still remember that name, like as
that's Sutpen. I remember because the professor was going, that's Sutpen, and he had that southern drawl, going Sutpen.
Yeah. Was there a movie for that book, Flowers of the Killing?
It hasn't been released yet.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I saw that on some list. Yeah.
I wonder if Thomas Sutpen will make it to the film version. I'm guessing not, because I think maybe 1 out of 1,000 people may recognize that name.
James Franco is really big on adapting all these Faulkner. Maybe he'll adapt Absalom at some point. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, he did. I've seen his As I Lay Dying. It was all right.
Yeah, they're not the book. It's like Ulysses. You can't really adapt them.
As I Lay Dying is cathartic too. Like I forget the young female in it, her in the doctor scene, and all that. That's really sad. It always moves me. And then the young kid who thinks his mother is a fish. That guy.
I remember that the chapter is like, my mother is a fish. And the chapter.
Yeah, that's a chapter. I think that's chapter 4.
So I totally get why people like pick up Faulkner or Joyce and they don't like him. And I wouldn't say don't twist your arm to keep reading if you're not into it.
No, I mean, Michael K. Vaughan is a channel I like to watch, and he always comments on how much he hated The Sound and the Fury. And he's one of the people who says when he starts a book, he has to finish the book. He's one of these like, I have to finish this. But I just love, especially the Benji section is I think is just an amazing feat of writing that no one I think even come close to capturing again. Now there is an edition of The Sound and the Fury that I want to buy. It's by the Folio Society, where
it has colors in it.
Well, originally Faulkner wrote The Sound and the Fury. He wanted each timeline to be printed in a different color.
Yeah,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but the printer said no, we can't do that. It's just way too expensive. We can't do that. And their compromise was to put the 3 italics.
Yeah.
But the Folio Society went ahead and hired some scholars to go through and say, what are the timelines? And just put different color ink and printed it out. The cheapest I've ever found was like $384.
Oh, shit.
And I'm thinking, no, I don't think I'm spending $304 for that book. The $380.
Oh.
But it's a very neat idea. I mean, just think about the creativity that's where we're going. It's like, well, why not use different colors in your ink?
So I had a music teacher that said like they were talking about music scores and they were saying like that's like the thing we should do is put colors in the score to like kind of give more of the flavor of the music to people that are playing it, so they can. I don't know how and there's different ways you could do it, but I think it's kind of an interesting idea that, when printing first began, black and white was the easiest and cheapest way. But nowadays, I think if you really want to, you can probably still print for reasonable price. I don't know printing prices, but I know color is more expensive, but not as much as like 100 years ago.
No. And the Folio Society produces high quality, limited editions of their books. It's never like a normal book that you print like 10,000 copies. They print like 3,000 copies, and
Faulkner, Sound and the Fury in color.
So but still, yeah. Now, I often thought, like, if I wanted to reread the Sound and the Fury. Hold on for a second. I often told myself I would save the Benji section for last, and just read the other three narratives first, and then go back. I don't know if that would help identify everything, have everything that fresh in your mind, or just read it the way Faulkner intended it to be.
Yeah,
I'm reading an article right now, Greg, about exactly what you're talking about. The Folio Society special edition of Sound of the Fury in 14 colors. Says a fine press edition, quarter bound in leather. Also includes a color-coded bookmark that reveals which time period is designated by each color.
I asked when Alan and I talked on my channel back in January, I was asking him about one of my favorite authors, Mark Lehner. Have you ever read Mark Lehner?
Mark Lehner. Hold on, I have.
Yeah, I was asking Greg about that too.
I bring him up now because his last book, he does a lot of things with the text because the main character is at an eye doctor and looking through an ophthalmologist. What's it called? I can't remember.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've looked through many of them.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things with the text that he does that would be difficult in an audiobook or, like playing with the
Ben Lerner or Mark Lerner?
Mark Lehner, L-E-Y.
Mark Lehner, okay, that's someone else.
Yeah. But he's the author that I can't think of any author I'd be more excited if he had a new book. Like
what other books has he written?
Well, he kind of started in like the 90s. He started with some short stories, and then he had a couple of novels. A2 Babe is pretty good, and The Tetherballs of Bougainville was one of my favorite novels for a long time. That's a good place to start. But then for about 15 years, he kind of went more commercial. He tried to make it in Hollywood with a screenplay. He did these medical books that he co-authored they sold well, but I don't like them as much. Like Why Do Men Have Nipples? That's one of them.
I've heard of that one.
But then he came back in 2012, and he's had 3 novels since then. And those 3 novels I love. They're not a trilogy. You can read them in any order, but they're very much like almost like memoirs, but they're like memoirs in the sense that his internal life is. And
which one do you like better, Gone with the Mind or Last Orgy of the Divine?
They're both great. The only caveat with Gone with the Mind is that the first 25 pages or so, he kind of his mother dictated it, and so it's not his style at all. So I love Gone with the Mind, but just understand if you're reading the first 25 pages, it's not his writing. When you get to page 25 or whatever, the style will change completely. There'll be no doubt at all that it's a different writing style.
Basically, he let his mother dictate the first part of the book?
Yeah, because I don't want to give away too much, but it's just the conceit of the book is that he's in a food court at the mall, and they're like giving a reading in which nobody cares, and his mother's there with them, and it's basically like I don't know. I love that book though, and I've listened to the audiobook several times. He reads it. Does he read it? I think his mom and him read it together. So it's kind of an interesting audiobook.
Then what about 2021 Last Orgy of the Divine?
I like that one too. That's the one I was telling you that is it starts in an eye doctor and reading the Snellen chart is the whole book supposedly. And
okay,
he changed the title because I don't think it was selling that well. He changed the title to Daughter Waiting for Her Father Outside the Men's Room or something, and I don't like that title. I like the original title, Last Orgy of the Divine Hermit. But whichever way you pick it up, I think that book, those last 3 novels are all great. And the other one, The Sugar Frosted Nutsack, each of them is kind of memoir homage to different people. So Sugar Frosted Nutsack is kind of to his wife. Gone with the Mind is kind of to his mother, and Last Orgy of the Divine Hermit is kind of to his daughter. It's kind of like this feminine trilogy and memoir. I can't even describe it. Just I recommend them all. I love them.
Okay.
These are inexpensive, like some are under $5.
Yeah, support Mark Lehner. And but I mentioned him in connection with Faulkner because he's one of the few authors that I feel like when you read Faulkner and you really get into it, you almost get this kind of buzz off the language. You know, you get this high of just this flow of language. And Mark Lehner, when at his best, he does the exact same thing, and in a very different way than Faulkner. Very different author.
Yeah,
And,
I remember that reading Absalom. There is a section in the middle where this sentence is just going on for pages and pages.
Right.
And it was the first time I'd ever experienced language used in that method, saying you're not really constrained to sentence structure and or normal sentence structure. Although someone says that book contains the actual longest real sentence in the English language. Now, I don't know how they justify it as a real sentence.
Right.
There is a book called Dies a Sentence. And, oh God, what is that woman's name?
Oh, that book, The Zone?
That's another one I'll mention, but it is a book written as one sentence. And the introduction says, well, she kind of uses a poet's comma in some places, which is my thing. It's like, okay, what you're saying is that this is a run-on sentence.
Yeah.
But still, it was a pretty good book. And there is a book translated from the French called The Zone, which is, again, one sentence.
I like that book. That book's a trip. Reading that book put me in another zone.
And very famously, there's Ducks Newburyport.
What is that?
That is a 1,000-page book that's one sentence long.
Okay. I'll just pick up and read a page, and then I'll call it a day. I'm sure.
It's actually a pretty interesting book.
You read
it's
it all?
Set in one day of a woman baking, and it's all her thoughts that go on through her brain throughout the day as she's cooking.
Baking. But you finished it.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Adam would rather practice his Italian.
If I'm ever in prison or something and I need a book, maybe I'll take it.
You'd be surprised what we read in prison.
I have
we
to
have
think
to
about
tear
that.
up John Grisham books. We had to tear up John Grisham books so we could fly them under the doors. We had like string.
Oh.
Yeah, down in lockdown. I was in female death row. Was the whole lockdown. Like if you got in a fight, you had to go to the hole. That's where they sent you, or protective custody. And we had to seriously do that with books, or like if anybody had extra coffee or tobacco tied up, had strings attached to like old toothpaste, so you could fling it under the door.
Say goodnight to Bad and Brad. Gotta go. So good night, Bad. Thanks again
good night,
for
Bad is Rad.
The T-shirt and the contest. We will let you know.
Why is she?
Yeah, she had a lot of great books. Huh?
Was there a part 1?
I think she had a channel that for some reason got deleted or erased.
It happens.
Oh, bad, yeah.
Or that she forgot her password, or I don't remember the.
I think she was getting too many gentlemen callers.
Oh.
So she had to change it to 2 so they wouldn't find her.
Oh. Well,
Anyway, hey, look at this. This was on the smallest graphite pencil on Earth.
Okay.
thank you for sharing that, Alan.
Yeah. All
And that
right.
doesn't fit my sharpener. Doesn't fit my sharpener anymore.
All right,
That's what
Adam.
happens.
We've gone on for about an hour and a half.
Oh, damn.
So, is there anything else you would like to add to the show?
Let me look at. There was one other thing I want to mention. I don't know if this interests anybody, but I've been watching, and I mentioned him on my channel a lot. But he's one of the most artistic and creative literary guy too. He's written books, but he's mainly a musician whose work I just love. Momus, and he's right now he releases songs like every day. Like he's working on an album right now, so he's released 4 songs. Very literary, very wonderful stuff. And if anyone wants to be artistically inspired, I recommend his stuff to you.
So who's he again?
He's a vlogger. He's a musician, but he's been doing albums since the 1980s. I think he's
The name
60.
is Momus.
Yeah, Momus. His channel's MOMA Momasu. But if you just search for Momus, he'll come up. Momasu.
Okay.
And yeah, he does vlogging. He just went to Japan and Korea. So he's kind of an inspiration to me, both travel, life, artistically, and maybe your viewers will enjoy him. MOMUS or US. But yeah, just search for Momus. He'll come up on YouTube.
Okay. Give him a shot.
Hey, thanks, Adam.
Maybe you guys will hate him, like maybe Mark Lehner too, but I don't know. I'm just trying to put my favorite artist out there. And
absolutely. I mean, you never know what will strike someone's fancy after hearing about it.
Yeah, I'll get some Mark Leonard books. And I want to get some more Tom Robbins, like I was thinking about. Tom Robbins pops in my head about every 3 months or quarterly. I don't know why.
You know, you're the second person today that I've seen mention Tom Robbins.
Really? Wow.
There was another channel talking about the death of Cormac McCarthy. And say, you know, his idea was Cormac McCarthy was the greatest living author. And he says, who now is the greatest living author? He mentioned Tom Robbins as a potential of being.
Yeah.
So what did you say your favorite Tom Robbins was, Alan?
Either Another Roadside Attraction or Jitterbug Perfume.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Still Life of the Woodpecker?
That's great. Yeah, with the pack of camels on it.
That's the one. That's the one. The 2 books that this guy mentioned today was Still Life of the Woodpecker and Jitterbug Perfume.
Yeah, all this stuff is good. And I like John Irving. I've read a lot of his stuff too. I really like him. I haven't read his. He's got like a new novel out. I tried to read it from the library, but there's got to be another term for DNF, like the Blue Flower. Although I didn't finish it, doesn't mean I'm not going to read it someday. No, I'll try it again. Just I've had a great reading in June. I mean, I read Lonesome Dove like in a few days. Couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And this, part 4 of the Kingsbury or King. I always say Kingsbury. It's King Bridge series. 4th one, 5th one coming out in September. It's 900 some pages. Then all the June on the Range. So I'm gonna get some dinner. I don't know about you guys. Adam's probably going for breakfast.
Or it's actually brunch or something by now. Okay. And for me, it's getting towards bedtime. So.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned all that I want to mention. So yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on. It's always fascinating to hear different people come on this show.
Yeah, it's fun.
talk about different subjects.
Yeah.
So, if anyone's still watching, thank you so much for tuning in, and maybe we'll see some of you next week. Good night.
See y'all.